Always be silent in 5 situations. Welcome, fellow travelers, on the journey of spirits. Today, we embark on a profound exploration of silence. Not just any silence, but the powerful, transformative silence that can reshape our lives and elevate our spirits. In a world that never seems to stop talking, we're going to discover the immense power that lies in choosing not to speak. The whisper of wisdom. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon. The wind whispers secrets of ages past, carrying the wisdom of countless souls who have stood where you now stand. In that moment, would you shout into the void, or would you listen? This, dear friends, is the essence of what we're about to uncover. As we delve into the 5 situations where silence becomes our greatest ally. Remember, we're not just learning about keeping quiet. We're unlocking the door to a higher state of being, a more refined existence where our spirits can truly soar. Situation 1. When facing unjust criticism. Picture this. You've poured your heart and soul into a project at work. Late nights, early mornings, sacrificed weekends, all leading to this moment. And then, like a bolt from the blue, your boss tears it apart with criticism that feels not just harsh, but unfair. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and words of defense rise like a tide in your throat. But wait. This, my friends, is where our journey begins. This is where silence becomes your superpower. The tale of the Stoic artist. Let me tell you about Maya, a young artist in New York City. Maya had spent months creating a series of paintings for her first major gallery exhibition. Each brushstroke was a piece of her soul, laid bare on canvas for the world to see. On opening night, as the gallery buzzed with critics and art enthusiasts, Maya overheard a renowned critic dismissing her work as derivative and lacking depth. The words cut deep, each syllable a dagger to her artist's heart. But Maya, a student of Stoic philosophy, remembered the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Instead of rushing to defend her work or confront the critic, Maya chose silence. She smiled, took a deep breath, and continued to mingle with other guests. As the night wore on, something remarkable happened. Other critics, uninfluenced by the negative comments, began to praise Maya's unique vision and technique. By the end of the evening, half of her collection had sold, including 2 pieces to a major museum. Maya's silence in the face of unfair criticism not only preserved her dignity, but allowed others to form their own opinions, untainted by controversy. The power of Stoic silence. When we face unjust criticism, our immediate instinct is often to defend ourselves, to prove our worth, to shout our accomplishments from the rooftops. But in doing so, we often diminish ourselves. We lower our spirits to engage in a battle that ultimately cannot be won through words alone. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, once said, "If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own." By choosing silence in the face of unfair criticism, we, 1. Maintain our inner peace and composure. 2. Allow our actions and results to speak louder than any words could. 3. Give ourselves time to reflect and respond thoughtfully, rather than react emotionally. 4. Demonstrate a quiet confidence that often commands more respect than any verbal defense. Remember, dear travelers, that silence in these moments is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is the ultimate display of strength and self-assurance. It says, "I am so certain of my worth that I need not stoop to defend it against every criticism." As you navigate the turbulent waters of life, carrying your precious cargo of dreams and aspirations, let silence be your steady hand on the rudder when the winds of criticism howl. For in that silence, you will find a power greater than any word could convey. Situation 2. Amidst the storm of anger. We've all been there. That moment when anger surges through our veins like liquid fire, threatening to erupt in a volcano of harsh words and regrettable actions. It's in these molten moments that silence becomes not just powerful, but essential. The samurai's lesson. Let me share with you the tale of Hiroshi, a young samurai in feudal Japan. Hiroshi was known for his quick temper, often letting his anger guide his sword. One day, his master sent him on a journey to deliver an important message to a neighboring lord. As Hiroshi traveled, he encountered a group of bandits. Outnumbered and outmatched, he was quickly disarmed and tied up. The bandits taunted him mercilessly, mocking his skills and his honor. Hiroshi's anger boiled within him, and he longed to lash out with cutting words if he couldn't use his sword. But then he remembered his master's teachings. In the silence between breaths lies the wisdom of the universe. Hiroshi closed his eyes and focused on his breath, letting the silence wash over him like a cool stream. As his anger subsided, he noticed the ropes binding him had been hastily tied. With a clear mind, he was able to work his way free. Instead of attacking the bandits, Hiroshi calmly stood up and bowed to them. His unexpected serenity in the face of their taunts confused and unnerved the bandits. They began to argue among themselves, giving Hiroshi the opportunity to retrieve his sword and complete his mission. When he returned to his master and recounted the tale, his master smiled and said, "You have learned that the greatest victory is the battle not fought. Your silence has made you a true samurai." The transformative power of silence in anger. When anger threatens to overtake us, silence becomes our sanctuary. It's the eye of the storm, the calm center that allows us to weather the tempest of our emotions without being swept away. Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it." This profound observation reminds us that the damage done by our angry words often far outweighs the initial slight that provoked our anger. By choosing silence when anger rises, we, 1. Give ourselves time to cool down and think rationally. 2. Avoid saying things we might regret later. 3. Maintain our dignity and self-respect. 4. Often diffuse tense situations more effectively than any argument could. But make no mistake, this silence is not passive. It's not about suppressing your anger or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging the emotion, feeling its heat, and then choosing not to let it control your actions. Imagine your anger as a raging bonfire. Words are like oxygen. They only feed the flames, making them burn hotter and spread farther. Silence, on the other hand, is like sand, slowly but surely smothering the fire until it dies down to manageable embers. As you journey through life, you will inevitably encounter situations that ignite your anger. In those fiery moments, remember Hiroshi. Remember the power that lies in taking a deep breath and embracing the silence. For it is in that silence that you will find your true strength, your true self. Let silence be your sword and shield when anger threatens to overwhelm you. In the quiet, you'll hear the whispers of wisdom that anger tries to drown out. And in that wisdom, you'll find not just peace, but power. Situation 3. When confronted with loss. Loss is an inescapable part of the human experience. It comes in many forms: the end of a relationship, the death of a loved one, the loss of a job or a dream. In these moments of profound grief, when the world seems to have lost its color and meaning, silence becomes our most faithful companion. The Widow's Garden. Allow me to tell you about Eleanor, a woman who found solace in silence during her darkest hours. Eleanor had been married to her husband, James, for over 40 years when he passed away suddenly from a heart attack. The loss left her reeling, her world shattered into a million pieces. Well-meaning friends and family surrounded her with a constant barrage of words, offers of condolences, attempts at comfort, suggestions for moving on. But their words, no matter how kindly meant, felt like sandpaper on her raw emotions. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked through her window, Eleanor stepped into the garden she and James had tended together for decades. As she stood there, surrounded by the flowers they had planted side by side, She finally allowed herself to be enveloped by silence. In that quiet moment, she could almost hear James's laughter echoing among the roses. She felt his presence in the gentle rustle of leaves. And for the first time since his passing, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. From that day forward, Eleanor made it a ritual to spend time in silent contemplation in their garden. She found that in the absence of words, her grief could breathe. It could ebb and flow naturally without the pressure of having to explain or justify it to anyone. As the seasons changed, so did Eleanor's grief. The silence she had embraced allowed her to process her loss at her own pace. She began to find joy again in the vibrant colors of the flowers, in the song of the birds that visited her garden. And though the pain of losing James never fully disappeared, she found a way to carry it with grace, nurtured by the healing power of silence. The healing silence of grief. When we experience loss, society often expects us to verbalize our pain, to talk it out. And while sharing our feelings can be therapeutic, there's profound healing power in silence too. As Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wisely observed, all sorrows are less with bread. In moments of loss, silence allows us to 1. Honor our grief without the pressure of having to explain or justify it. 2. Connect with our deepest emotions without the distraction of words. 3. Find moments of peace amidst the storm of sorrow. 4. Reflect on our memories and find meaning in our loss. Silence in the face of loss is not about suppressing our emotions or putting on a brave face. It's about creating a sacred space where our grief can exist in its purest form, unencumbered by the expectations or judgments of others. Think of your grief as a deep, still lake. Words are like stones thrown into that lake, causing ripples that disturb the surface. Silence allows the waters to calm, letting you see all the way to the bottom, where your memories and love reside. As you navigate the choppy waters of loss in your own life, remember Eleanor and her garden. Remember that it's okay to step away from the noise of the world and into the silence of your own heart. For it is in that silence that you may find not just solace, but the strength to carry on. Let silence be your sanctuary when grief threatens to overwhelm you. In the quiet, you may just hear the whispers of those you've lost, reminding you that love transcends even death, and that healing, though slow, is always possible. Situation 4. In the face of ignorance. In an age of information overload, paradoxically, ignorance still abounds. We've all encountered situations where someone confidently proclaims something we know to be false or misguided. The temptation to correct, to educate, to argue can be overwhelming. But sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. The tale of the Zen master and the professor. There's an old Zen story that beautifully illustrates this point. The university professor came to visit a famous Zen master. While the master quietly served tea, the professor talked about Zen, demonstrating his extensive knowledge of the subject. The master poured the visitor's cup full and then kept on pouring. The professor watched the overflowing cup until he could no longer restrain himself. "It's full. No more will go in," he blurted. "Like this cup," the master said, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" The master's silence, broken only when necessary, spoke volumes more than any lecture or argument could have. His quiet action demonstrated the very essence of Zen more effectively than words ever could. The wisdom of silence in the face of ignorance. When confronted with ignorance or misinformation, our first instinct is often to correct it immediately. We feel a responsibility to set the record straight, to enlighten, to debate. But as the Zen master showed, sometimes the most profound teachings come not from filling minds with information, but from creating the space for realization to occur. Marcus Aurelius, in his wisdom, advised, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." This reminds us that truth doesn't become more or less true based on how many people believe it or how loudly it's proclaimed. By choosing silence when faced with ignorance, we 1. Avoid engaging in fruitless arguments that often only entrench people further in their beliefs. 2. Create space for others to reflect on their own knowledge and potentially recognize their misconceptions. 3. Maintain our own peace of mind, rather than becoming frustrated or angry. 4. Demonstrate confidence in our own understanding without needing to prove it to others. This doesn't mean we should never speak up against misinformation, especially when it's harmful. But it does mean choosing our battles wisely and recognizing when silence might be more effective than words. Imagine ignorance as a tangled ball of yarn. Trying to forcefully straighten it out often only tightens the knots. Silence, on the other hand, is like gently laying the ball down and allowing it to slowly unravel on its own. As you journey through life, you will undoubtedly encounter ignorance in its many forms. In those moments, remember the Zen master and his overflowing teacup. Remember that sometimes the most powerful way to impart wisdom is not through speaking, but through silent example. Let silence be your teacher when faced with ignorance. In the quiet, you create space for true learning to occur, not just for others, but for yourself as well. For in silence, we often discover the limits of our own knowledge and the vastness of what we have yet to learn. Situation 5. When rumors swirl. In our interconnected world, rumors can spread faster than wildfire, leaving reputations scorched in their wake. When we find ourselves the subject of gossip or false information, the urge to defend ourselves, to set the record straight, can be almost overwhelming. But sometimes, the most powerful defense is a dignified silence. The statesman's silence. Let me share with you the story of Senator Grace Chen, a rising star in politics known for her integrity and dedication to public service. As her influence grew, so did the number of her detractors. One day, a vicious rumor began circulating that she had accepted bribes from a large corporation in exchange for supporting a controversial bill. The allegation was completely false, but it spread rapidly through social media and was picked up by several news outlets. Grace's advisors urged her to make a public statement, to vehemently deny the accusations and threaten legal action against those spreading the lies. But Grace, a student of history and philosophy, remembered the words of Epictetus: "If evil be spoken of you and it be true, correct yourself. If it be a lie, laugh at it." She chose a path of dignified silence. Instead of engaging with the rumors directly, Grace continued her work with unwavering focus. She attended committee meetings, worked on legislation, and met with constituents, all without a word about the swirling allegations. Her silence puzzled her accusers and intrigued the public. As days passed without Grace addressing the rumors, journalists began to dig deeper. They found no evidence to support the bribery claims. In fact, they uncovered a voting record that consistently prioritized public interest over corporate influence. 2 weeks after the rumor first surfaced, the truth came out. The false allegation had been planted by a rival politician, hoping to derail Grace's career. The rival's underhanded tactics were exposed, and Grace's reputation not only remained intact, but was strengthened by her dignified handling of the situation. When finally asked about her silence during the ordeal, Grace simply said, "I've always believed that character is revealed not in moments of comfort, but in times of challenge. I chose to let my actions speak louder than any words could." The power of silence amidst rumors. When rumors threaten to engulf us, silence can be our most potent weapon. It's not about being passive or allowing falsehoods to go unchallenged. Rather, it's about choosing a response that ultimately speaks volumes about our character and integrity. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely noted, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." This applies equally well to our response to rumors. By choosing silence, at least initially, we 1. Avoid adding fuel to the fire of gossip, which often burns out quicker without a reaction. 2. Give ourselves time to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. 3. Allow the truth to emerge naturally. As we conclude our journey through these 5 powerful situations for silence, I want to hear from you. Which of these resonated most with your own experiences? Do you agree or disagree with any of these approaches? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found value in this exploration of Stoic silence, don't forget to subscribe to Journey of Spirits and hit the notification bell. This way, you'll never miss out on our future journeys into wisdom and self-discovery. Until next time, may your silence speak volumes.